Okay, Virgo rising, Saturn will be in retrograde in your 8th house of Aries until December of this year. I'm Sook Boy, you're awesome. Let's talk about it. When a planet turns retrograde, it basically just means we internalize its energy. We use Saturnian themes in a more introverted way. Fun fact about Saturn, look, it's retrograde a fair bit. Every 12 or 13 months, it will retrograde for about 4 or 5 months. So roughly 38% of its cycle is actually spent in observable retrograde. The 8th house stereotypically rules over shared assets, shared resources, so money that moves through other people that finds its way to you somehow. It's also the house of intimacy, inherited emotional attachments that we have to things, people, circumstances, depending on our early childhood. And finally, it's the house of transformation. It's where we alchemize ourselves, that dark night of the soul, where you actually go through something quite turbulent or uncomfortable and come out the other end with an experience that somehow dictates or informs your beliefs. And that's because the 9th house and Sagittarius kind of are associated with our beliefs. We go through this scorpionic 8th house phase of our life to figure out what our beliefs are and ultimately what we want to put into place moving forward. Saturn in the 8th house might be building on a pre-existing commitment, a relationship, a business partner venture, maybe a contract that you entered. Maybe there was a lot of pre-existing debt that you had before Saturn moved into the 8th, and now you're actively, potentially impatiently trying to get rid of that debt or service that debt in some way. Now, if you are in a relationship with another person and you both hold debt together, it's very important that you don't make that debt the identity of the relationship and you invest in connecting with that person in different ways, not just the fact that you have some kind of shared mortgage or debt or obligation. Now, the reverse can be true, and Saturn's actually applying some kind of scarcity factor to the 8th house. It's trying to take things away. This could literally mean some loss and you're grieving someone at this time, or you've lost access to, resources that usually make your life a little bit more sustainable, or you're having to work a little harder for them. Or if you are in some kind of relationship, romantic, business, platonic, or otherwise, you're observing them going through some kind of scarcity in this time. Because the 8th house can't be seen by the ascendant, the 1st house does not see the 8th house, it's somewhat of a blind spot. While Saturn is in Aries, this 8th house, it's not in its dignity. It's usually exalted in Libra. Now, the opposite to Libra is Aries, so it's in its fall, meaning that it doesn't have the same amount of energy or resources itself or support it can give to the houses it rules, that Capricorn 5th and that Aquarius 6th house. So you might find some clues what Saturn's been doing in this area of the chart as well. Anything to do with children, custody, your creative outlets, your entrepreneurial journey, who you're collaborating with, your situationships, that's the Capricorn 5th house. Basically, what are you building to give yourself sustainable happiness? Like, where's your playful nature? How's that playing out? That's what that 5th house is really speaking to. It's also got your 6th house of Aquarius activated. So it has a hard time supporting, time management in that area of your life, potentially acts of service, potentially in relationship with authority figures in your workplace, people that you actually manage over as well. It's also the house of health. So, how are you taking care of yourself? You could be feeling drained in these areas because Saturn is not in its dignity while it's in Aries. The 6th house speaks to your lifestyle, basically, and Saturn might be asking you for a deeper commitment to, master or put the 10,000 hours, raise the standard of the quality of work you do on a daily basis, or it could be asking you to let go of old things that weren't working, and probably both. Now, if you got this far thinking that it's all doom and gloom, look, it's not. Jupiter is in your 12th house of Leo, and I personally believe that Jupiter operates beautifully in the 12th house. It's very lucky, let's say. And usually I have this whole spiel about what luck is in the birth chart. I like Jupiter in the 12th, just saying. And it's forming trines to this Saturn basically for about the next 6 months, like over this retrograde. And this is usually freedom versus responsibility. And Jupiter rules your home, Jupiter rules your partnership. So I do see a deeper commitment, especially if there's been a secret relationship, not an affair per se, but just something that hasn't been visible. Maybe it really firms up and becomes a lot more committed. The 12th house is behind the scenes. Now, it's so much so behind the scenes that it can be behind the scenes to your own private world, meaning that there's things about you that absolutely no one knows about, including you. So if the 4th house was your private world, and your 8th house are those intimate relationships, you know, the things that you share with one another or the things that you don't share with one another. That all ends up in the 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th is pretty poignant in this situation, and as it forms those trines back and forth, as Jupiter's going to retrograde and hit Saturn a few times, it's really going to give Saturn that extra guidance and generosity and optimism that it needs to move through this period with a lot of integrity. In fact, the more I think about it, the more you might actually observe it in another person. They might have to go through some scarcity phase, some wake-up call, and it's really up to you how much energy you can put into holding their hand through this, guiding them through this. This trine dance with Jupiter and Saturn makes things a net positive at scale, if you ask me. Now, so thank you for watching this entire video. Please feel free to send me a DM. I'll send you a coupon code for 30 Australian dollars off my natal and transit readings for new clients exclusively. I only love positive vibes always. Hope that helps. Okay, bye.